you will unknowingly, subconsciously sabotage yourself so that you don't put yourself in that position. You know it's going to feel uncomfortable, so you're not going to call the FISBO. You're not afraid of the FISBO saying no. You're afraid of them saying yes. How to know if you're going to make it as a real estate agent. Welcome to today's morning meeting. I'm Greg Luther, the one guy that meets with you every single week to help you in growing your real estate business. Cool topic today because we're going to talk a little bit about what it takes to be a good real estate agent. There's an awful lot of agents that are licensed but not practicing. They're not selling enough real estate. They're not closing enough transactions. And the biggest problem, they're not attracting a lot of clients. We'll talk about why that is today. But I think you'll find that there's a very specific type of person that's successful in the real estate business. And there's a lot of people that aren't successful, and you can actually know that before they get their license. You can know that within a 5-minute conversation, knowing if they're going to be good at sales or they're not going to be good at sales. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that. You know, one of the biggest things is, are you confident? Are you personable? Are you comfortable when you're talking to someone? And a lot of people, of course, a lot of those things you would say yes, right? Anytime somebody asks a question, you almost answer it because you know it's the right thing to say. It's like, you know, if I say, hey, do you really want to be rich? Well, yeah, of course I want to be rich. No, you don't. Look at what you're doing every day. Come on, you're saying that because you know that's what you're supposed to say, but you're not taking the actions that would dictate that. In fact, you don't want to be rich because I can see what you're doing every day. It's like saying you want to be skinny. That's what you're supposed to say, but you can't say that while you're eating 3 Big Macs. Right? So everybody says they want to lose weight, but you don't really mean that. You just know that's the thing you're supposed to say. If you meant it, you would act differently, myself included. So I wanted to talk a little bit about this sales side of things because I'll give you a little story time, tell you a little story about what happened this weekend. But many of you know I just bought a horse breeding farm in Lexington, Kentucky. I closed on it on Friday, spent a lot of the weekend there meeting people for fences that I want to have repaired and new barn stuff that I'm doing and all of that. So I spent a lot of time there and I met a lot of people that are essentially in the sales business. No matter what you do, if you're a landscaper and you're going out to give a quote, you're in sales. If you cut down trees for a living and you go out to give a quote, you're in sales. If you build fences, if you're going out there to give that quote, you're meeting with someone to give a sales presentation. So I met multiple people over the weekend. And fortunately for me, I had my son with me. Many of you know Zach. He's 22 years old. He's a licensed agent as well. And he was with me, and he got to see that uncomfortable feeling when you meet a salesperson that doesn't know what the hell they're doing. If you've ever done this before, you know, you meet some people that are really nice and comfortable and cordial, and it's just a cool conversation. And then you meet other people that's like, man, it just feels weird. It's kind of cringy. And we actually had that happen. And a lot of this comes down to their own self-confidence and what they do and who they are. So I'll give you an example. And I want to kind of ad lib and try and teach this in a way that makes sense for you as a real estate agent. So I met some folks on repairing some of the fencing. I've got probably 18 or 20 different fields there for horses that are totally fenced in. They have the 4 wooden rails. You know how it is in Lexington. I have 18 to 20 fields. This is over 100 acres there. And there's a lot of boards down. There's some areas I want to completely rebuild the fencing. And there's some areas that are really nice that don't need anything at all. So I wanted to meet a couple of people. The first guy that showed up, first of all, he's late. That's the first problem, right? He shows up, looks like hell, isn't prepared for anything at all, doesn't introduce himself well. He forgot to bring his smile. That's the first thing. Like, it's a little weird. You meet somebody out in an open field and they're just like talking to you without ever having any small talk, so to speak, right? And doesn't have a wheel for measuring. You know how they measure off the location by spinning the wheel like an appraiser would do. Doesn't have that with him. Doesn't have a notebook, can't take anything. He's just meeting me and looking at the field. Not cordial at all. doesn't do a really good job and really doesn't close for the business. Like I paid cash for this farm. I told him I plan on spending $300,000-$400,000 on all the fields and all the upgrades I'm doing there. I'm building an additional barn for over $400,000. I'm dumping a lot of money into this, and he knows I'm all cash. I'm ready to take action right now. Never once tries to close the deal, is very uncomfortable the entire time, and almost has a little bit of a condescending tone to him because he's not real personable. The next guy that comes out starts telling me about his company and how long it's been in business, and that they're well known nationally and they've won awards and they've done. And I'm like, dude, did I ever say you weren't qualified? Why are you telling me all? I'm not saying you're not good enough. I'm not saying your company's not big enough for me. I'm not saying, you know what I'm saying? I want a fence. Why are we talking about this? I want to talk about how quick I can get this done and how much it's going to cost me. Why do you keep trying to justify yourself to me? Why are you telling me about how long you've been doing this, or that you're third generation, or that you're licensed and bonded and insured and all of that stuff? While that is important, it's not what the customer wants. So you're given this whole presentation trying to justify yourself to me, which makes me think, shit, maybe they're not that good. If they have to convince me that they're just a qualified person to begin with, I want to meet someone to replace my fences or to repair my fences in some areas. Now, the third guy that comes out, incredibly comfortable, nice, shakes my hand. How you doing? Congratulations on your purchase here. Wow, this is beautiful. Tell me what you have in mind. Like, where are you going to put that barn? Oh, that's amazing. Like, he's very personable. Now, here's what happened. Let me fast forward so you see what happened with these sales guys. The last guy is by far the most expensive. As a matter of fact, I did the math this morning. He's 18% higher in cost than the others. That's who I'm going with. I'm going with the one that costs more. As a matter of fact, he's so busy, he can't even start for 3 months. I'm going with him. I'm waiting to go with him. You know why? Because he's comfortable. He listened to me. He understood me. He asked the right questions, and I felt like I connect with him better. So I want you to think about yourself as a real estate agent. If you're giving a presentation talking about your company or how long you've been doing, or trying to justify that you're actually qualified to begin with, it would be like you're worried to death about this surgery you're going to need. And the doctor's like, well, I brought a copy of my degree that shows you that I am a medical professional. I brought my grades that show you that I did pass the test here, so you can see this. You'd be like, dude, what are you? Why are you convincing me that you're a doctor? I don't need that right now. So if you're the type that is just there to do business and you're not there to really be in the people business, you've heard before he's a people person or she's a people person. That's a real thing. How well you communicate with people rather than being nervous, uncomfortable, clammy, not being willing to ask for the order. You have to be bold to be in sales. We know that's the case. You have to be willing to get a yes or get a no. The last thing you want to do is get a maybe. Get a, well, I presented it to them. I think they're going to get back with me. They said that it was nice to meet me and they're going to think about it and they're going to call me back. No, get a yes or a no. Stop being cowardly with what you're doing. So to find out if you're really going to make it in this business or not, you really need to think about how comfortable you are talking to humans. How well do you do creating a relationship with them, creating rapport? Rapport doesn't mean, oh, I see they went to this high school, I went to that high school too. It's not trying to connect to them on that level. It's learning a little bit about what they're doing. Like me being in the passenger seat, me being in the consumer seat and seeing these salespeople, I realized very quickly that I would go with the premium. Like, there's an awful lot of people in this world that are not going to say, well, that guy that was an asshole, he was cheaper, so I'm going with him. Because, you know, everybody just wants to save money and nobody has money these days, so they're all just going to go with cheap. No, I would not do the fences before I would work with that guy. So I want you to think about how you're presenting yourself, because what happens is if you're not comfortable yourself inside, not how you present yourself, but what you really feel, if you're not comfortable, meeting strangers, finding out their real estate needs, whether they're buying, selling, wherever they're making that move, and then jumping into the car with them to find out, like, okay, where are we going with this thing? Why are you making the move? What's your lifestyle going to look like? If you're not willing to go with them on this journey, it's going to be uncomfortable. You're going to keep just selling you. And you know that feels bad, and that tension starts to rise a little bit. So what we find is, if you're uncomfortable meeting them, you're uncomfortable giving a presentation, you're uncomfortable with not the possibility of being told no, the guarantee that you will be told no a lot. You are guaranteed in sales to be told no a lot. If that bothers you for some reason, if you don't know that's part of the plan, like, you're never going to hit home runs if you're afraid of striking out, because there's never been a batter in history that had more home runs than he had strikeouts. That includes Babe Ruth. That includes Reggie Jackson. That includes the steroids, Barry Bonds. They had more strikeouts than they had home runs. So if you're worried about those things, listen up, listen up. You will unknowingly, subconsciously sabotage yourself so that you don't put yourself in that position.